Working with Docker volumes. We have already understood what are Docker volumes. In this session, I am going to discuss more towards the syntax aspect of it. So yes, like in case of bind mounts, here also we are going to make use of the same option, that is either use the volume option or the mount option at the time of creating a container instance. Basically, we want to attach some volume to a container. So how are we going to do that? First, we need to create a container. So how do we create a container? Go to command prompt and use docker volume, and you can use the option create. Basically, you see here docker volume create and give some name. Let's say my wall, and you can give any name as per your requirement. My wall 2. You can use docker volume ls to get the list of all docker volumes which are there. You see, I already have all these docker volumes and all of them are using the local driver. And you see, one of them has some unique number. Actually, that is nothing but an anonymous volume. So there are two types of docker volumes: named docker volume. These are all named ones, and this is the anonymous one. And if a docker volume is not attached to any particular container, you can actually prune it so that all of them can get deleted. So I check once again the list of docker volume, and you see all got pruned. All of them got deleted because none of them was attached to any of the containers. So let me also actually end any kind of container which is not running by using the same prune command. So yes, reconfirm it docker ps and -a. So we have one container. We can actually stop that also. We don't need that now. Docker stop, just give the initial first 3 characters of the container ID, and you can remove the container. So now run the ps -a and we have blank, nothing. We don't have any container created. So how do we create a container now using a docker volume? So first I would like to create a volume now because I deleted all of them. The new one which I created also got deleted. So I say my volume, and using this volume I would like to now create a instance of a container. I want to create an instance of the image that is a container. So I'll say docker run and give some my volume -v and my wall. The volume which is already created earlier, we gave that volume name, and colon to which folder do you want to map it. So whatever name, let us say c:/ maybe the data. We can actually look at the same project what we had earlier and try to do the same thing. First, is it Linux or is it Windows? Switch to Linux. That means right now it is Windows container. So this is my project, and here I am expecting the folder by name my data. So I would like to map it to my data, and Sandeep Soni / storage demo. Because we have created the volume just now, what you will notice is we are going to get the counter value as 1 only. And where is that file going to be stored? Let me execute the same thing once again, and now this should be 2. So my data in container in c:/ my data inside container is now going to be mapped to the my volume folder. Now where is this my volume folder? If it is Windows operating system, it is going to be in your Docker folder, Docker store folder. I have created my Docker store here, and you see inside this volumes and my vol is present. Inside my vol further we are going to have underscore data, and that is where my file will be created. So I generally would not manage this particular folder directly through other non-Docker applications. I would let only Docker applications manage this particular folder, and otherwise we can use the CLI Docker CLI commands for creating volume or listing volume or deleting volume and so on. So you see here, that's it. So syntax is pretty simple and straightforward. Just give the volume name and colon, and followed by that the path in the container instance. Also what you can do is, right now I have created a volume by name my vol. Now let's say I give here my vol 2. What's going to happen? And you see here this time we got 1. So earlier in bind mounts we have seen that if there was no volume, it was throwing an error, it was giving an error, but here it has executed and a new volume got created automatically. So here under volumes now we have my volume 2. So my volume 2 is different by itself, and volume by its my vol is different by itself. So there are two different volumes which are created, and both would have their respective values of the counter in our case. That means they are different file systems. So same thing we can do, of course, by making use of the mount syntax. So how is the mount syntax different? Docker run -- mount, there is no shortcut for it, and give source. Source can be again my vol, comma, destination is equal to, we want destination in our case as C colon my data, and this time type is supposed to be volume, and just give the image name. So you can again make use of the mount syntax as well over here, like we have used it in Docker mount, bind mount. The same thing we can make use of over here also. You see, and it's continuing. Just that different ways. Either you want to give name value pairs like this, or you just want to give a volume name colon the map. Both are fine. So whatever volumes we have created, like in this particular case my vol, we can always inspect that volume. So you can say Docker inspect and give the volume name, say my vol, and we are going to get a JSON object here which is complete information about that volume. What is most important thing is it is giving to me the physical path in the host where this volume directory structure is mapped to, and of course what is the driver which is being used here, when was it created, and all the basic information. Now let us switch to the Linux container. Switch to Linux container, and we are going to again execute the same commands. Right now my vol is not there. So let's see if there is any volume already there. Docker volume ls. Nothing, no volumes. So here also we can create a volume, or rather when we execute the command we can let it to automatically get created for us. So my vol, and now you see C colon / my data is not valid. So path has to be now Linux style. That means we have to use / my data. So that's it. Count. Again run 2. Again run 3, and so on. And you can execute Docker inspect my volume, and you see this is the folder where the data is mapped. So syntax wise the Docker commands are same whether it is Linux or Windows or any other OS. CLI commands are absolutely same. Volume or mount both are also fine, absolutely no problem. It's up to you what you want to make use of for working with volumes. So let us have a quick revision. We can make use of the same volume option or mount option at the time of attaching a volume to the container. How is the syntax different? earlier we have used bind mount. There we had host directory, but here it is volume name. Mind you, if the volume is not existing, it automatically gets created. And you can use the other basic commands: docker volume create to create a volume, docker volume rm to remove a volume, ls to get the list of all volumes. You can also inspect a particular volume. Unused volumes, no running container is using a volume, can be removed by using the command docker volume prune. And we have done this. So that's all in this particular session, and the remaining aspect of this topic will finish in next.